Do you regret having children? I know it's a stereotype that once you have a child you're supposed to be overfilled with joy and love. But what were your true emotions when you found out or when they were born? And did you ever regret having them later on? I very much planned for and wanted my son, but right around the time that I found out I was pregnant my marriage started falling apart. By the time my son was born my joy at having a child was still there, but I was also scared, hurt and angry with my, now ex-husband. He left us when my son was 8 months old after months of emotional trauma verging on abuse and lots of cheating. So my journey with my son was, and still is, mixed. I love him and I'm glad he's a part of my life. He's 9 now, but being a single parent is hard, and going through my ex's cheating and emotional attacks while postpartum was miserable. I really wish I had become a mother under better circumstances and with a better partner. This hits home for me. I love my boy, I want the very best for him, and I have many doubts that I fulfill that role for him. Same experience here. I don't regret having my son. I regret that I had him with a man who cheated and left me when he was a toddler. I'm not cut out to be a single mother and I still dread it every day, and my son is 6 years old now. Having a loving, supportive partner would make a world of difference, but instead I'm single and have to deal with my ex and his now wife continually manipulate my son to antagonize me. My son deserved a better family life and it breaks my heart that I've been unable to give him that. My son was not planned and my relationship was less than stable. I was 18 when I got pregnant. I had just gotten back together with my soon-to-be ex-husband, we were dating and high school sweethearts. I was very, very upset when I found out. It had nothing to do with my child. It had everything to do with my ex. My ex was abusive, pushy, controlling, and neglectful. When I had my son, he was not involved in any way. He basically ignored my son. While I love my son dearly and truly, I just wish I had him with someone so much better. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing him. I'll be honest. I do regret it. And I feel like trash for saying that, because each of my children were longed for and planned for. One of my children is on the low end of the spectrum, and since having them, we have learned that my husband is on the spectrum as well. His symptoms have taken a serious downturn since having the kids, so I'm often doing this parenting thing alone. My son is bright and funny. But he has started to become physically aggressive, he will hit himself, bite his fingers until they bleed, and because of his constant moaning and hand flapping, I can't take him to most public places. He is constantly trying to run away from me. I worry sometimes that he will succeed. We have all kinds of locks on the doors and alarms, but sometimes I'm scared that he will still find a way to slip out. I can't work because my husband can barely handle the kids. Once a month, I go out for about 2 hours to have dinner with a friend. They are increasingly leaving me behind because they have other friends they can see on a whim. Otherwise, I am with at least one of my kids. My entire life is housework, errands, setting up appointments and taking my son to appointments, trying to work with him, playing with my younger son and trying to make sure that he's okay. Most of my family is gone and my in-laws have made it clear that they have little interest in our kids, but recently came back from watching their daughter's kids for 2 weeks so she could go on vacation. I can't remember the last time that my husband and I had time alone, where we weren't trying to occupy the kids with TV so we could sneak off for a few minutes. It's been at least 6 months. Our insurance doesn't cover respite, therapy is expensive, and nobody wants to watch my son. When my husband is home, he just sits looking and acting absolutely miserable. He rarely interacts with our kids but to bark at them because they interrupt him while he's sitting on his phone. I have to tell him every little thing to do. I've tried to talk him into therapy, and I've done everything I can to get him out of the house, because then at least he's out of our way and not putting a damper on our mood. I am so much happier when he's not home. I think ultimately, I regret who I had my kids with. Autism history is clear in that family now. I didn't expect that their father would be a poor parent. Even considering that, I didn't imagine that I would have a child on the low end of the spectrum when the rest of the family is on the high end. But that's a difficult thing. Because I love my son exactly as he is, even though there are challenges and difficulties. I know for sure that I could have had an easier life. But my children are still very young, and a lot can change in the next several years. I am certainly praying so. I regret that I started so young and wasn't a better mother. I can't find it in my heart to regret them, but if I had a do-over I wouldn't have children. I don't know if regret is the right word, but I feel very guilty for having them. My choice had been to remain child-free. My ex-husband stealthed me. Hence the children. I raised my younger brother, took care of myself, and cared for a dying elderly relative, all while taking unspeakable abuse, and managing to hold a job and finish high school well enough that I had a full-ride scholarship. The way I saw it, I had done enough maternal caring to last a lifetime by the time I was 20. I did not want to be responsible for another life again. Also, I feel incredibly guilty for what a shite show my kids will be inheriting. The economy sucks, everything inexpensive. Being a grown person is the worst. I love my kids very much. But they deserved a better mother than what they got. Most days I feel like a huge failure, because they deserve so much better than the hand they have been dealt. Nope, but I do wonder what my life would be like right now, if we hadn't had them. My husband and I were on the fence for 8 years. We would check in with each other every couple of months. When I hit my mid-30s we had to make a final decision. We decided to go for it. I never thought of myself as very maternal, but I actually took to motherhood. I do sometimes miss the disposable income and flexible schedule, but I have never been happier in my whole life. I even decided to stay home with the kids, which I absolutely never saw myself doing before they were born. It is so hard. When my friends ask if I think they should have them or not, I always tell them that they should really want to do it. Please don't have kids just because you think it is expected of you. Not exactly answering your question, but the other side of the coin after reading a lot of these. I don't have kids and, after my recent hysterectomy, never will. I was married very young, half because I was escaping my crazy mother and family, half because husband was going to die without surgery but had no health insurance. I did. In the beginning we were too broke. After a few years, I wanted them badly, but was terrified to be a mom because of the horrible abuse inflicted on me by my mom and other family members. I actually nannied for a while. A few times baby cried so badly, I imagined smothering her. On this alone, I based my decision that I shouldn't have any, not realizing that that's a perfectly reasonable thing to imagine when you are exhausted and have been dealing with it for days on end. I never hurt baby in any way, mind you. But I know that's a reasonable thing to imagine, as most of my parent friends have admitted to similar at some stressed out point. In my late 30s, I realized that I'd had enough therapy and growth, and instinct for caring, and love in my heart, that I wanted kids. I'd babysat enough to know no matter how crazy the kid behaved, I'd never hurt one. Sadly, it was too late. I had an ectopic and after that was advised not to try again. I regret that my life's choices were dictated by fear. I regret that a screwed up family screwed me up. But I don't regret the love of friends, my current partner. I was married 15 years but divorced for a while now, and all the adventures I've been afforded being childless. Whatever you decide, stand by it, love you, and make the best of it. Just as the sign of a good mom is often questioning herself and her parenting, questioning whether you are ready or ever will be is a sure sign of maturity. Ask yourself what's important to you, and go from there. Where I'm at now? No, I don't. But when I was in the thick of the newborn phase and sleeplessness, I can't say I didn't severely miss my independence. A few days when I felt the worst, I can honestly even say I googled if it was normal to regret becoming a parent too. I may have had severe baby blues or even PPD, I never told anyone, but eventually I got over it. Once you become a mother, you can't just check out. So I just kept going and pushing through, and eventually those bad days started becoming fewer and fewer. Now, I have an adorable little girl who just turned 2. She is the reason I smile every morning and enjoy every day as much as I do. And I even enjoy her so much that I decided to do it again. She'll be getting a little brother in less than 3 weeks. I know it'll be hard and I may have regrets again, but eventually I'll come out the other side happier than before. I'm thick in the newborn phase, sleeplessness and mono-like exhaustion. I'm excited to keep going when I read posts like this. I love him but regret it. Things aren't the same anymore. I don't have time for myself and things changed in my relationship drastically. I have an 11-month-old daughter, perfect in every way. She wasn't planned, but my husband and I were married, had a house, good jobs, kinda just felt right. At least that's what I thought. We talked before about what we would do if I got pregnant, and it came down to we'll talk about our options if it happens. To me that meant we would assess the situation and figure out what was best for us. When I went to the OB to confirm I was pregnant, I asked for all the information on prenatal care, abortion, adoption options, extension. I wanted us to look at every option and make the one that worked best for us. When I showed him everything, he just shut down. He locked himself away and shut himself off emotionally when he was available again. I understand cold feet about having your first kid, but he couldn't talk about it at all. I kept waiting and told him that if he won't talk to me then I'll have to make the decision. It was obviously more difficult than that. I kept the baby. It broke us in so many more ways than I could imagine. But we're okay now. He's an amazing dad and husband. He loves our daughter more than anything in the entire universe. He apologizes almost every day for what I went through while pregnant. I think we're going to wait a while for the next one. I guess to answer the question, no, I don't regret having my girl. Don't get me wrong. I love my son to death. He's almost 7 and pretty incredible. But to be brutally honest, I was young at the time, 23, and I wasn't done being selfish. I got pregnant by a pretty big deadbeat who hasn't been involved at all, which was his choice. And it has hindered my life in a lot of ways. I don't know that I would change it if I could, knowing what I would give up, but yes, I regret it. It's difficult in every way. I never liked kids really either. And still don't. Lol. I wish I would have been young longer, traveled and experienced life. And also been more financially stable, because that had been a huge struggle as well. I was draped. And my sister convinced me to keep it rather than abortion. And since it was my best friend's and I was drunk when it happened, I blamed myself. Got in a 6-year relationship and had another baby with him, before finally realizing that this wasn't okay. Unfortunately, leaving him also meant I had to leave my kids. I had no support system as I have gone no contact with my own family and therefore could not work to support them while also keeping custody. So now I only can see them every other weekend and I pay child support and hope that he is raising them right while trying my best to make sure they have other positive influences in their lives. I didn't want kids. I didn't want this situation. I love them to death, but I wish I never had them. Oh my God, bless your heart and good on you for doing the best you can in this situation. I'm so sorry you have to go through that. Before I got pregnant I swore I would never have kids. The moment I saw the positive test my first thought was, oh, I guess I'm gonna be a mom. Ha. Okay. Let's do this. Which is super weird because I'm very pro-choice. Pregnancy was really traumatic and I've never been more suicidal in my life. I fell madly in love with my son the moment they plopped the kid on my belly. I knew at that moment that I couldn't kill myself because I had to stay alive to be his mom. The times I regret having a kid. When I remember what my childhood was like and I freak out over what if I accidentally treat him the way my parents treated me. When I feel like he deserves a better mom who grew up knowing what a good family was like. I'm just always afraid of doing something wrong. When he wakes up at 3:30 a.m. and refuses to go back to sleep. And stays up until bedtime. That's it for the most part. I just have a lot of fear over not being a good mom. A lot of fear. I love the kid so much. He's the best, even when he is being a butt. He saved my life. Thank you for watching and listening to this video. Please share your own stories, experiences and comments below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you liked the video. Have you got a suggestion? Write it below. See you next time. Bye.